I was inspired by, how many of y'all seen the spook that sat by the door? Damn, wow, bro. Millennials? Nobody seen that? The spook that sat by the door? Jonathan seen it. Okay. Who else? Any sisters seen it? All right, could you stand up and just give us a brief summary of what the movie's about? I didn't see all of it. I seen some of it.
Basically, it was a Jake, and he was working for he was learning Esau's custom of how to be an undercover agent, and I guess because I didn't watch y'all either, but later on, I guess he found out some truth in it. He kind of went against it.
Yeah, and he brought it back to the community. He was an ex-CIA operative or something like that, and he brought back what he learned amongst Esau to help his people. And the main purpose was to overthrow the white supremacy, all right? It was actually a book, and then they made a movie out of it. It's called The Spook That Sat by the Door. Try to watch it. It's a very good flick, all right? Very good. So like I said, I drew some, I can't even say parallels, but this inspired me to just bring out what I'm about to bring out. Like I said, this is going to be a two-part class. This is the first part of it. But we're going to call this the Coon that sat in the midst. All right, the movie is called The Spook That Sat by the Door, but this is called the Coon that sat in the midst. All right, let's roll that. Let's roll this Darthard Perry real quick. It's 9 minutes. How many of y'all know who Darthard Perry is? Damn, what are y'all brothers watching, man? What are y'all watching? Avengers? Just CGI movies, that's it? Oh, good Lord. All right, go ahead, press play.
So we're active in the infiltration of many cultural groups. Before we go into that step by step, how much research and study did the FBI engage in of black culture in the late 60s?
A great amount.
Give me an idea.
From the thing is, I can. They have a file on every type of magazine that blacks read. They have a file on the music, dance, theater, actors, comedians, you name it, man.
And they would actually study these different...
Yes. Oh, yes, definitely.
What would they do with music?
To understand the people, you have to understand the culture.
You hear that?
To infiltrate, you have to understand. You had a lot of so-called white liberals that were infiltrating the so-called black groups using the information that they had gathered from the studies of blacks.
You mean just to understand the behavior pattern of our people?
Oh, yeah. I can, Will Heaton could name out some jams.
Let me ask y'all something. He said you have a lot of white liberals, right, that were able to infiltrate. Why is that? Why were they able to infiltrate the white liberals? And give me an example of that. Young man right there.
Shalom. Because of trying to get equal rights inclusion.
Okay, equal rights inclusion. But how were they able to infiltrate? Let's say this time, this is like the 1960s, right? Civil rights era, segregation. How were white people able to infiltrate?
Through trying to get rights for whatever their groups want.
Officer Mike Judah, press the mic up.
Yeah, they would have organizations like Equal Rights for Women, and then they would bring our women into it, and then have our women come back to our nation with their ideas and their doctrines, and it would spread amongst our people, and that would eventually open the doors for them to come into the circles that we had, like the black.
Yes.
And then we also had like lunch programs. Esau, they always want to give to the cause. So once you befriend them, they give to the cause. They get friendly with you, then they come in amongst us. Like
excellent. Around this time, we had what was called a high guard, both hands up. But right here, both hands up. And what the white liberals did through their actions, their ideologies, and their infiltration, they would cause us to drop our guards by their kindness and doing things for the community, right, so-called. And it caused many of these civil rights leaders to drop their guard, and that would allow Esau to come in and infiltrate and eventually bring them down, okay, and establish rights for the white liberals, whether it be the feminist movement. Now you have what? LBGTQ, whatever they call it, right? That's what happened. All right, go ahead. Press play.
I hadn't even heard of. He could name off some books that I hadn't even read pertaining to black culture.
Do you ever see agents actually studying the music of?
Yes. I've seen them going over even video portion of cultural events. The understanding, like when, you have an organization like Leroy Jones' Black House. You remember that? Okay, Leroy Jones's place, which was done on the thing of tribalism. That's where I first heard the word Kintu, Mantu, Huntu, Hentu. These words of the African continuum. I learned that from an agent. He ran it down to me.
Wow. So they were able to understand our slang, the way we speak. Agents, and it was many of them. I'm not gonna say some. Many of them were agents that look like us. All right, and also the agents of the other nation. Now, how many of y'all seen the interview threat assessment with IUIC, of course, and Sam Kestenbaum? All right, y'all sisters should watch that too. Brothers, show it to your wives. Okay, very good interview by the bishop, right? And inside of the interview, when you watch it, Bishop has mentioned how there's agents and provocateurs within the nation of Israel. For us not to think that there's agents inside of all these different camps, we're bugged out of our mind. Okay? This is the one thing that the Most High is going to use to bring down this kingdom of Babylon, Esau's kingdom. And for you to think Esau is just going to stand by and let that happen, you bugged out of your mind. So people could put up videos or comments with sarcasm and condescending quotes and or videos saying, oh, y'all crazy for saying agent this, agent that. Guess what is going to happen? It happened to the Black Panthers. It happened to SNCC. It happened to Marcus Garvey. How much more us? How much more us? Go ahead. Press play.
In-depth studies of the personalities of the people they're dealing with, too, culturally. It always helps. It's a thing of, you can take their culture and use it against them.
How large would you say an extensive collection on our culture would you say the FBI has? Would you rate it as large as a particular library, like the Schomburg Library in Harlem? Or?
I would rate it better. And the fact is that they go into details that we probably would overlook. Will Heaton used to meet me in different places, know. Will Heaton, that was one of my supervising agents. There is a certain bar in the Los Angeles area where people into black cultural things met, and Will Heaton used to meet me there. And he would go into very long and tiring conversations with some very articulate brothers about culture, African culture, and Afro-American culture.
Tell me about some of the cultural organizations that you infiltrated and what you did.
PASLA, Mafunde, Watts Writers Workshop.
Stop. How many of you guys, so far he mentioned 3. The Watts Writers Workshop. How many of you are familiar with that? All right, well, he was responsible for building it. Key word, he was responsible for building it, and he was responsible for destroying it. He is the man that burned down, this man right here. Okay? Press play.
They had
the Watts Writers Workshop.
Yes. Watts Writers Workshop, which was one of the oldest established black writers workshop.
That place was burned down.
Yeah. The Bureau had it burnt down.
How do you know that?
I know because I participated. I did the arson.
You burned down the Watts Writers?
Yes.
Why did they want it to go?
At the time, funding had been cut to the workshop, had been cut out, but it looked like there was a possibility of a grant being given back to the workshop. And if there was no theater, there would be no grant.
Everything revolves around money. All right? And every organization you need funds to survive. All right? To progress, to carry out the mission. You need funds. You need funds. So that's why they burnt the Watts Writers Workshop. Jonathan, did I send you information on that? On exactly what it did? The Watts Writers Workshop? Nope. It should say Watts Writers. Or we could just look it up now. Just go to Wikipedia. Type it in for those who don't know. That's why reading is very fundamental. And the purpose of the Watts Writers Workshop is they would put out literature as to what was going on in the community, and people were reading it. Okay? Right there, the first one. Oh, let's go down. Yeah, let's get that one. Just a brief overview on what it's about.
The Watts Writers Workshop was a creative writing group initiated by screenwriter Bud Schulberg in the wake of the devastating August 1965 Watts riots in South Central Los Angeles, now South Los Angeles. Schulberg later said, in a small way, "I wanted to help. The only thing I knew was writing, so I decided to start a writer's workshop." The group, which functioned from 1965 to 1973, was composed primarily of young African Americans in Watts and the surrounding neighborhoods. Early on, the workshop included a theatrical component, and one of the founders was actor Yaphet Kotto. The group expanded its facilities and activities over the next several years with funding from the Rockefeller Foundation.
You hear that? With funding from the Rockefeller Foundation. In some cases, not all, in some cases, Esau will fund you just to watch you. Get you to what? Drop the high guard, all right, so they can infiltrate. Come on.
Government files later revealed that the workshop had been the target of covert operations by the FBI.
Mm-hmm.
Well-known writers to emerge from the workshop included Quincy Troop, Johnny Scott, Eric Priestley, Ojinki, Herbert Simmons, and Wanda Coleman, as well as the poetry group Watts Prophets.
Go down. So this organization was very attractive towards the white liberals. Very attractive towards the white liberals. Come on.
The Watts Writers Workshop was begun in September 1965.
Bring it down a bit. All right. So it said it drew press attention from, look at the names: James Baldwin, John Steinbeck, Richard Burton, Steve Allen, Abby Lincoln, Ira Gershwin, and Senator Robert F. Kennedy. Okay, down. Down. The National Endowment for the Arts, NEA, awarded a grant of $25,000 awarded to enable the group to establish a meeting space for its writing programs as well as housing for some of the workshop's members. The key word that we wanted is grant. It was pulling in money, not only from black people, but also from white people, which was a major problem. Okay, down. All right, read right there, Harry Dolan.
Harry Dolan, the director of the Watts Writers Workshop, was attempting to keep it going after the loss of federal funding by holding a fundraising dinner in April 1973. But within months, the workshop building with its 350-seat theater was burned down by FBI informant Darthard Perry, who began confessing to his activities in 1975.
Okay, now go back to his interview. This is the interview of the man that we're watching. Come on.
How did you do it?
2 cans of kerosene, Purex bottle, gasoline, and a flare, highway flare.
Why didn't you use more sophisticated stuff?
Oh, no. No. You're never overly sophisticated. It's too obvious.
Hey, do y'all see any guilt in this man? He's just chilling, like he's just bragging about, like, whatever. It's crazy, man. Our people, man. This is Israel for you, though. Go ahead, press play.
This way you make it look like, maybe somebody in the neighborhood that got kicked out of theater at one time got mad and came and burned the damn theater up, that kind of thing.
But you were involved in this theater? I mean, did it get to you at all, what you were?
Hey, man, that got to me a great deal. I love that theater. I built the stage.
You built the stage?
Oh, yeah. When I got to the work...
History repeats itself. The things that were written aforetime was what? We say it every week. Some of y'all don't listen. That's why it amazes me when you have brothers and or sisters run up out of the congregation talking about, oh, things are happening in the body. This is happening, or turmoil, or people died in the past, or this happened to that. What the hell you think this is? The bigger we get, the more problems are we going to have. This is not the Christian church. If you can't handle it, run back to TD Jakes. How far is TD Jakes from here? Ain't far. If you don't got a car, get an Uber. Ain't too far. Just run back to the Christian church. Okay, the things that were written aforetime was written for our learning. And guess what? There were spies in the past. There were traitors in the past. There were agents in the past. And I'm gonna prove that to you in a minute. Okay? Go ahead.
The stage that had been, the original stage that had been built needed an extension on it. The original part of the stage was in terrible condition. They had no lighting system. I put the lighting system in myself. I put the stage in myself.
I put the lighting in myself. I put the stage in myself. You have brothers that built websites. What have you been into today for different congregations? Brothers built websites. Brothers did beautiful art. They helped build this thing, but they're also helping in destroying it. Darthard Perry. Go ahead. Come on.
And that was a stage, man. And that was a theater. It's a nice theater.
Who was the director of that workshop?
Harry Dolan.
Harry Dolan. Some very, very well-known artists supported that workship, gave money to it.
Some very well-known artists came out of the Watts Writers Workshop. Glenn Tubman, Yaphet Kotto. Sidney Poitier used to come down there and give a class. Sammy Davis Jr. used to come down there all the time. Quincy Jones used to come there and give music classes. We had our own 8-track studio setup for sound. We had our own sound room there.
Was part of your other activities and responsibilities to study the profiles of celebrities who were supportive of organizations?
Definitely, and especially, like I said, psychological backgrounds, weaknesses and strengths. Did he have a weakness for blondes? Did he have a weakness for money? Did he snort cocaine? Did he smoke marijuana? They even get into, and that's one thing the Bureau loves is their sexual background. They have files and files on different blacks, not only celebrities, but a lot of others, sexual activity.
Stop. That's why the FBI kept tabs on whom? Martin Luther King. And they had a lot of instances of adultery in there. So we tell y'all brothers, be careful. Y'all brothers that be sneaking around on these different websites. You brothers that be stopping at these certain truck stops. You brothers that be telling you, be careful, especially when you rise up in rank. Esau will use that against you. He will use that against you. Okay, y'all brothers better be very careful. Leave that thing alone. That's why the Most High says to what? Mortify your members. Okay, because Esau will use that thing against you. And some of you, we know that your rank means everything to you. Instead of just repenting, your name, your rank means everything to you. You'll sell your brother out for some Edomite vajayjay or $2. So y'all better be very careful. Come on.
Do with this information.
Oh, that's used as a weakness.
So they would feed to these weaknesses.
Yes.
Did you see that happen?
Oh, yes. Doc Holliday, who is one of the leaders of the BGF, Black Guerrilla Family, which is a prison gang in the California state prison system. Upon his release from prison, a certain sister made herself known to him at a nightclub, whereupon he moved in with her, and she picked up names, telephone numbers, information, that kind of thing. That lasted for a good 3.5 months.
Was this an unusual thing, or did this happen often?
No, that happens all the time.
Did you yourself get involved in doing that?
See
Yes.
that? They sent a woman after this brother. He was part of the Black Guerrilla Family. Got off of prison. They sent in the woman, black woman that just looked just like him, a kin. Sent in the woman to get what? Names, numbers, and information. Now the interviewer is asking him, did you do that? Let's hear his response. Come on.
Give me an example.
There was a gentleman that was on trial in Los Angeles that belonged to the BLA that had been busted in a southern state for a bank robbery, but was brought with 2 other people to Los Angeles to stand trial for the machine gunning of a police officer in Los Angeles. I was supposed to worm my way into the infections of his sister, and
So get to him, get to the sister. Get to the sister so you can get to him. Come on.
whatever it took to get the information that I needed as far as what kind of defense they planned to use as to turn this information over to the federal prosecution.
Did you do it?
I got the information, and thank God I didn't have to go through with the
So he got the information through the sister, but now he's about to tell you how. Come on.
actual thing of sexual activity.
What do you mean, thank God?
The sister was rather unappealing.
So he was able to obtain this information about the sister's brother, the head of the BLA, but he didn't have to sleep with her. He didn't have to sleep with her. Then he said, thank God, because she was probably hideous as hell. Okay, but I just want to show you the depths and the lengths of Satan. All right, and that spirit, which is a Judas spirit, is in the midst of Israel, might be in the midst in here. All right, and that could come on any one of us, because of what? Covetousness. And I'm going to show it to you. Get me 1 Timothy's, please. Get me 1 Timothy's. I'm sorry, 2 Timothy's chapter 3, verse 1.
So we're active.
2 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 1.
Come on.
This know also, that in the last days.
In the what?
Last days.
The last days started when? Brothers? When Christ died. Come on.
Perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves. Covetous. Come on. Boasters. Proud. Blasphemers. Disobedient to parents.
Come on.
Unthankful.
No gratitude having Negroes. Come on.
Unholy. Without natural affection. Truce breakers. False accusers.
False accusers. It happened at that time. Guess what is happening in the last days? False accusers. All right, come on.
Incontinent.
Incontinent.
Fierce. Despisers of those that are good.
Come on.
Traitors.
What?
Traitors.
What?
Traitors.
Was Darthard Perry a traitor? Was Judas a traitor? Same spirit. Come on.
Heady. High-minded. Lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God.
Sex can be pleasurable. Okay. Well, sex is pleasurable if you're doing it right. Right? Money's a major pleasure for people. Money is a major pleasure for people. Okay? And a lot of people are going to become traitors. They're going to become false accusers. They're going to become truce breakers, disobedient, unthankful over money and all the pleasures of life. And most pleasures are what? Contrary to God's laws. Most pleasures cause you to sin. Okay, come on.
having a form of godliness,
Having a form of godliness, meaning the beard, the fringes. Come on.
but denying the power thereof. For from such turn away.
God says to leave those people alone. Turn away from those people. Come on.
For of this sort are they which creep into houses, led captive silly women laden with sins.
Come on.
Led away with diverse lusts.
That's what a lot of these men today, in the last days, they'll have most of their followers on whatever social media platform they're using to push their rhetoric is mostly women. Some of them are single women who can't keep a husband. Okay? Most of these brothers they're following are women. Come on.
Ever learning and never able to come to the knowledge of the truth.
Ever learning, but never able to come into the knowledge of God's laws. Come on.
Now as Jannes and Jambres withstood Moses, so do these also resist the truth. Men of corrupt minds reprobate concerning the faith.
Wow, men of corrupt minds reprobate concerning the faith. Why does it compare these men with these attributes to Jannes and Jambres? Officer Judah.
Because with their enchantments, the things they perform look just like Moses' righteous acts.
Excellent. Very good. And that's the same witchcraft. What are they enchantments? Nice videos, nice speeches. Okay? Those are their enchantments. What? Deceiving the minds of the simple. Okay? Whether it be man or woman. Come on.
But they shall proceed no further.
But they shall what?
Proceed no further.
The Most High is only going to allow them to just do but so much. And then the Most High is going to put a stop to them. Okay? That's the power of the Most High. Okay? Read.
For their folly shall be manifest unto all men, as theirs also was.
Come on.
But thou hast fully known my doctrine.
All right, stop there. Okay, so like I said, you had Judas was a major traitor, and he realized what he did. But the only thing is, remember what we said before, the things written aforetime was written for our learning. Scriptures on Christ being betrayed and so forth, that's prophetic. You can read about that in Zechariah. You can read about that in Jeremiah. In the book of Psalms, King David talks about that. Okay? You read about that. You read about Christ being betrayed. Judas read all of those things. But when his temptation came, he was overcome by what? His own lusts. Everything that he read, he forgot about. He ran headlong into his own lusts. Okay? Get me Maccabees. Get me Maccabees real quick. Yeah, go ahead, of course.
Yeah. Notice how it says read verse 8 again.
2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 8. Now Jannes and Jambres withstood Moses, so do these also resist the truth.
Notice how it says they resist the truth. It's not like brothers and sisters don't understand the scriptures concerning how to love your neighbor as you love yourself, whether it be forgiveness, whether it be Matthews 18, whatever the case is. But you resist the truth because your love of money, because of you're proud or whatever other sin you read in verse 2 through verse 4. That lust will overtake you and overcome you to the point where you'll resist God's commandments because you want to fulfill whatever lust it is. That's why it's important to study and apply and bring forth fruits meet for repentance.
Yep. All right. Now let's jump back in time a bit. Judas was around what time? Who was ruling? Rome, which is Esau. Now let's still stick with Esau, but let's jump back to the Greek. All right. Get me 2 Maccabees 10. So this was around the time of our forefather Judas Maccabeus and his brothers. Let's start with 2 Maccabees 10 and verse 1.
Chapter 10 and verse 1. Now Maccabeus and his company, the Lord guiding them, recovered the temple and the city.
Come on.
But the altars which the heathen had built in the open street, and also the chapels they pulled down.
Come on.
And having cleansed the temple, they made another altar, and striking stones, they took fire out of them, and offered a sacrifice after 2 years, and set forth incense and lights and shewbread. When that was done, they fell flat down and besought the Lord that they might come no more into such troubles. But if they sinned any more against him, that he himself would chasten them with mercy, and that they might not be delivered unto the blasphemous and barbarous nations.
Barbarous.
Nations. Now upon the same day that the strangers profaned the temple, of the very same day it was cleansed again, even the 25th day of the same month, which is Caslu.
That's the 25th day, which we celebrate what feast? Dedication. Come on.
And they kept 8 days with gladness, as in the feast of the tabernacles, remembering that not long afore they had held the feast of the tabernacles, when as they wandered in the mountains and dens like beasts. Therefore they bared branches and fair boughs and palms also, and sang psalms unto him that had given them good success in cleansing his place. They ordained also by a common stature and decree that every year those days should be kept of the whole nation of the Jews. And this was the end of Antiochus, called Epiphanes. Now,
what does Epiphanies mean again? Good. Come on.
Now will we declare the acts of Antiochus, Epater, who was the son of this wicked man.
So write that down. Underline it. Antiochus or Antiochus, Eupator, was the son of Antiochus Epiphanes. I believe this Epiphanes was the 4th. Is that the 4th? Okay, so the son would be what? The 5th. All right, come on.
Gathering briefly the calamities of the wars. So when he was come to the crown, he set one Lysias over the affairs of his realm, and appointed him chief governor of Cleosyria and Phoenice for Ptolemy that was called Macron, choosing rather to do justice unto the Jews for the wrong that had been done unto them, endeavored to continue peace with them. Whereupon, being accused of the king's friends before Eupator, and called traitor at every word, because he had left Cyprus, that Philometor had committed unto him, and departed to Antiochus Epiphanes, and seeing that he was in no honorable place, he was so discouraged that he poisoned himself and died. But when Gorgias was governor of the holds, Gorgias was governor of the holds, he hired soldiers and nourished war continually with the Jews.
So this governor, he wanted to continue the war with the Jews. Come on.
And therewithal, the Idumeans, having gotten into the hands the most commodious holds, kept the Jews occupied, and receiving those that were banished from Jerusalem, they went about to nourish war. Then they that were with Maccabeus made supplication and besought God that he would be their helper. And so they ran with violence upon the strongholds of the Idumeans.
Come on.
And assaulting them strongly, they won the holds and kept off all that fought upon the wall, and slew all that fell into their hands, and killed no fewer than 20,000. And because certain who were no less than 9,000 were fled together into very strong castles, having all manner of things convenient to sustain the siege. Maccabeus left Simon and Joseph and Zacchaeus also, and them that were with him, who were enough to besiege them, and departed himself unto those places which more needed his help. Now they that were with Simon.
So Maccabeus, in verse 19, it says Maccabeus left Simon and Joseph and Zacchaeus also, right? He left them in what? To do what? To hold it down. They were in charge, right? Come on, so they were appointed what? Some sort of leadership position, correct? Come on.
And them that were with him, who were enough to besiege them, and departed himself unto those places which more needed his help.
So Maccabeus put these men in charge, whether it be captains, whatever, officers. He put them in charge so he can leave to other places that needed his help. Come on.
Now they that were with Simon, being led with covetousness.
They that were with Simon being what?
Led with covetousness.
Led with what?
Covetousness.
Come on.
were persuaded for money.
Were persuaded for what?
Money.
For what?
Money.
Most lust of some. Money. Come on.
Through certain of those that were in the castle. And took 70,000
Drachms.
drachms and led some of them escape. But when it was told Maccabeus what was done, he called the governors of the people together and accused those men that they had sold their brethren for money.
And that's what you see. People are selling their brothers for money. That's what you see over here. What we just, in the articles and the videos that we just seen, all right, with Darthard Perry. People selling each other out for money. Money, 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 money. Come on.
And set their enemies free to fight against them. So he slew those that were found traitors and immediately took the 2 castles.
So he slew those that were traitors. Okay, so there was traitors amongst us. Let me get the other one, other article. Let me get the one with the women. Let me get the woman, because a lot of times when we hear agents, always think just men. There's female agents too. Let's get this demon. Okay, forgot what's the sister's name. Forgot her name already. All right, so this was a 1968 interview, I believe. Okay, press play.
Well, I say it is frightening, and it should be frightened to the entire American people that he has demanded $10 billion.
Stop. So he that demanded $10 billion was Martin Luther King. If you read a lot of articles, they always used to compare his movement and what he stood for to communism. They always used to compare him to a communist, okay? Or even a socialist, I believe. So that's what she's making reference to, Martin Luther King. Okay, come on.
And if he doesn't get it, then there may be riots this summer. Martin Luther King is nothing but a blackmailer, and he should be arrested for blackmailing because he certainly has
She sat in the midst of him. She sat in the midst of Martin Luther King before. Come on.
The United States government.
There's one thing that bothers me, and that as a
So
Negro,
this is
you're-
so. Listen to the white man. What he just said. He said, "There's what? One thing that bothers me as a Negro." Press play.
Why do you talk so bitterly against Martin Luther King and a lot of these other people?
Why
of
are you
your race?
talking so bitterly against your brother? Why are you talking so bitterly about the people that's standing up to fight for the nation? Just like today. Why people are speaking so bitterly about us? There's nothing new under the sun. Obviously, that's a rhetorical question. It's written in the Bible, so it's going to happen. But why are you so baffled when it happens? That's the thing you should be asking yourself. It's written aforetime for our learning. So if it happens, you got to what? Find ways to overcome and stay strong by applying the scriptures. Okay, come on.
Well, let me tell you something. I don't put my race before I do my country.
Go back, rewind it again. Rewind it again. Let's hear what she said. We got to hear that again. Come on, let the hair-hatted hooligan repeat herself. Go ahead, come on. Let it play.
People of your race.
Well, let me tell you something. I don't put my race before I do my country. Being a Negro woman doesn't matter to me who is a Negro or who is a white person. If they are enemies of our country, then they are certainly my enemies too.
Thoroughly brainwashed by even Satan himself. Satan himself was amazed. Like, damn, the amazement of the Negro. Satan himself was like, wow, this lady right here, I don't even want her around me. She's speaking out against her own people like so easily, okay, without hesitation. All right, give me the book that they published on her. Yeah, she said our country. Okay. In his mind, he's laughing. The book. Thank you. All right. Her name is Julia Brown. I think that's her. Okay. Make that bigger. Got my old zip code on there. All right. I testify my years as an FBI undercover agent. A black woman. Okay. All right. Close that out. Let's get another traitor. Let's get another Judas. So the Judas could jump on the male. It could also jump on the female. All right. Let's get our brother William O'Neal. How many of you guys know who William O'Neal is? I brought it out last week, matter of fact. Did y'all go home and bother to do the research? No. Y'all went home to watch LeBron James. Some of y'all gonna watch the All-Star game. Oh, brother. Go ahead, press play. This is the man, press pause. This is the man that gave the blueprint of Fred Hampton's house to the police department. That's when the police went in, they knew what room he would be in and what room to shoot at. They had the blueprint to his house. Okay? He was responsible for that. Okay, come on. There ain't no sound? All right, just hold it, bring it back and just read it. Damn, I chose the wrong one. I apologize, y'all. All right, but this was the shortest clip. Some other clips are like 10, 20 minutes. Could you read that, Soraya?
Check. I'm not a hero, no. I don't think of myself as a hero for what I've done. But at the same time, I don't feel ashamed. It was my role during that time. There were a lot of different roles, a lot of different positions. William O'Neal was a member of the Black Panther Party.
He was the head. Stop. He was the head of the Fred Hampton's security. So he wasn't just a regular member. He was the head of Fred Hampton's security. That's how he was able to get the blueprint to the brother's house. Come on.
He entered as an FBI informant. He discusses his decisions and perspectives on his past life. I was recruited early and I joined sides early. And I didn't straddle the fence. I gave it all I could, as long as I could. Do I feel like I betrayed someone? Absolutely not. I had no allegiance to the Panthers. I didn't even know what they were about. I joined at the instigation of the FBI, who I had scant knowledge of. So no, I don't feel like I betrayed anybody. I don't feel like I'm a hero. Am I proud? I'm proud of some of the things that I done.
So in actuality, he did feel guilty because he later on committed suicide when you read up on him, okay? Same thing Judas did. He was overcome by what? Covetousness, right? And then once Satan got off of him, he realized, damn, I just betrayed the Son of Man. Went back to give the 30 pieces of silver. That wasn't enough. He went and hung himself. This man killed himself, okay, when you read up on it, all right? Get me the next traitor, the next Judas. Civil rights photographer, unmasked as informer. Civil rights photographer. Let's read that. Try to read it quick.
Let's see, Atlanta. That photo of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. riding one of the first desegregated buses in Montgomery, Alabama. He took it, the well-known image of black sanitation workers carrying "I am a man" signs in Memphis. He was the only photojournalist to document the entire trial in the murder of Emmett Till. And he was there in the room 306 of the Lorraine Hotel, Dr. King's room, on the night he was assassinated.
Now, the part about where it says the black sanitation workers, "I am a man," there was a strike going on with the sanitation department in Memphis, and Martin Luther King was down there to boycott and to protest on their behalf. And as you know, I don't know about now, but I know in the 90s and before the 90s, the Italian mob, different mobsters, they always had a hand in the union workers and sanitation and so forth. All right. You had the Memphis Dixie Mafia, which now information is coming out saying that they took part in Martin Luther King's assassination. So they ain't want Martin Luther King out there boycotting, helping people boycott. Okay, there's a book out on it. There's a whole bunch of information that's coming out now. Go ahead, come on.
But now an unsettling asterisk must be added to the legacy of Ernest C. Withers, one of the most celebrated photographers of the civil rights era.
So that when you go to Google Images, you'll see pictures of that famous picture of people carrying that poster, I Am a Man. He's the one that took that. Okay, come on.
He was a paid FBI informer. On Sunday, the Commercial Appeal in Memphis published the results of a 2-year investigation that showed Mr. Withers, who died in 2007 at age 85, had collaborated closely with 2 FBI agents in the 1960s to keep tabs on the civil rights movement. It was an astonishing revelation about a former police officer nicknamed the original civil rights photographer, whose previous claim to fame had been the trust he engendered among high-ranking civil rights leaders, including Dr. King.
Mm-hmm.
It's an amazing betrayal, said Athan Theoris, a historian at Marquette University who has written books about the FBI. It really speaks to the degree the FBI was able to engage individuals within the civil rights movement. This man was so well trusted.
But that's how most agents get to these men. They gain their trust. Come on.
From at least 1968 to 1970, Mr. Withers, who was black, provided photographs, biographical information, and scheduling details to 2 FBI agents in the Bureau's Memphis Domestic Surveillance Program. Howell Lowe and William H. Lawrence, according to the numerous reports summarizing their meetings. The reports were obtained by the newspaper under the Freedom of Information Act and posted on his website.
So because of this Freedom of Information Act, now there's different documents that come out that the FBI has to release on certain time periods where you can go back and read up on reports. That's how we're able to, recently they came out with information on JFK, although many things were highlighted out in black. Reason being because a lot of those people whose names are mentioned are still alive. Okay, so that's why Trump would say, well, okay, they'll come out in another 20, 30 years, then we'll take that part out. Then you can see who was mentioned in there. Why? Because those people in those papers are still alive today. Okay, that's why we're able to read up on what? COINTELPRO, where you see the actual FBI government papers, the real papers. How do we know about the things that we speak about today? Because because of the Freedom of Information Act, those things are put out into the public so we can read about it. All right, come on.
A clerical error appears to have allowed Mr. Withers' identity to be divulged. In most cases in the reports, references to Mr. Withers and his informer number ME338-R have been blacked out, but in several locations, the FBI appears to have forgotten to hide them. The FBI said Monday that it was not clear what had caused the lapse in privacy and was looking into the incident.
See, so they didn't deny it. They said it was a mistake. All right, come on.
Civil rights leaders have responded to the revelation with a mixture of dismay, sadness, and disbelief. If this is true, then Ernie abused our friendship, said the Reverend James M. Lawson Jr., a retired minister who organized civil rights rallies throughout the South in the 1960s.
Come on, go down.
Go back down.
Right there.
Others were more forgiving. It's not surprising, said Andrew Young, a civil rights organizer who later became mayor of Atlanta. We knew that everything we did was bugged, although we didn't suspect Withers individually.
You never suspect the brother that sat with you. You never suspect the brother that sat next to you. Okay, you never suspect the brother that you invited over for dinner at your house could be recording you. You never suspected the brother that sat next to you would be taking snapshots of pictures or conversation. You don't suspect that. Come on.
Many details of Mr. Withers' relationship with the FBI remain unknown. The Bureau keeps files on all informers, but has declined repeated requests to release Mr. Withers. which would presumably explain how much he was paid by the FBI, how he was recruited, and how long he served as an informer. At the time of his death, Mr. Withers had the largest catalog of any individual photographer covering the civil rights movement in the South, said Tony Deacon, the owner of the Panopticon Gallery in Boston, the exclusive agent for Mr. Withers. His photographs have been collected in 4 books, and his family was planning to open a museum named after him. His works shows remarkable intimacy with and access to top civil rights leaders. Friends used to say he had a knack for being in the right place at the right time.
Of course he did. He was an agent. Come on.
But while he was growing close to top civil rights leaders, Mr. Withers was also meeting regularly with FBI agents, disclosing details about plans for marches and political beliefs of the leaders, even personal information like the leaders' car tag numbers.
Down.
David J. Garrow, a Pulitzer Prize-winning historian who has written biographies of Dr. King, said many civil rights workers gave confidential interviews to the FBI and CIA and were automatically classified as informants. The difference, Mr. Garrow said, is the evidence that Mr. Withers was being paid. Although Mr. Withers' motivation is not known, Mr. Garrow said informants were rarely motivated by the financial compensation.
He said they were rarely motivated by the financial compensation, but they're motivated by some sort of covetousness. Okay, come on.
Which wasn't enough money to live on. But Mark Peruschia, who wrote the article for the Commercial Appeal, noted that Mr. Withers had 8 children and might have struggled to support them.
Come on.
The children of Mr. Withers did not respond to requests for comment.
Of course they won't, because that's a disgrace to find out that your father was a traitor. Come on.
But one daughter, Rosalind Withers, told local news organizations that she did not find the report conclusive. This is the first time I've heard of this in my life, Ms. Withers told the Commercial Appeal. My father's not here to defend himself. That is a very, very strong accusation.
Come on, down. All right, and that's it. Now, there's other accusations on Reverend Jesse Jackson, but I'm not going to go into that because we don't have any like real hardcore evidence. Although he's alive and he has not denied the evidence that's out, okay? But I'm just basing the people that I brought out today are actual names that was on the FBI's list, paperwork, okay? Government paperwork, all right? So, so brothers and sisters, that Judas spirit is still amongst us, and that could jump on any one of us. So, like Officer Lemuel said, like the Bible says, we got to what? Apply, okay? So that whole thing about having agents amongst us is not far-fetched, all right? It happened back then. It can happen now.
Shalom. This is Bishop Nathaniel of Israel United in Christ. Please subscribe to our YouTube channels. Stay up to date with our latest events, music, and classroom lessons. IUIC plans to continue visiting different countries where this gospel has not been preached before. IUIC needs your help in pushing this truth. So join us. Subscribe to our Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and podcast, and stay up to date with us. For more information, please visit www.israelunite.org.